Next man up here on 102.5 The Game, Connor Newt, Parker Kelly here with you on this Monday morning. I am live here at the very beautiful Hermitage Golf Course out off Old Hickory. Parker Kelly, of course, back at our studio at the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game National Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Parker, how's it going?
Connor, it is fantastic. I will say a little jealous that you are at the golf course and I am not. Have you attempted to putt or drive at all this morning?
Being as I got here about 6 minutes ago, no, I have not. But,
Will you? I mean, there's time after the show, I guess. The weather's beautiful today. I don't think it's going to be too hot. It might be the perfect, cool.
No, it's supposed to get up to like 80 today, so that'll be nice. But yeah, I've never hit any balls of any kind with a golf club, so that should be an interesting experiment if I do, in fact, choose to do so.
Hopefully it'll go better than curling.
Yeah, well, can't go much worse than curling. You're probably wondering where Jake Lyman is today. He will be out all week, and here's the reason why. This past Saturday, Jake Lyman and his wonderful fiance, Tatum, were married. The knot was tied. I was lucky enough to be in attendance. It was a very beautiful ceremony and electric, to say the least. Let's just say that intro of Enter Sandman was played a few times. It was a pretty hokey wedding. And by hokey, I mean Virginia Tech. I had the opportunity, myself and Nick Frazier were seated right next to the voice of Virginia Tech football. It was unbelievable. So you can imagine I picked his brain about things for about 30 minutes in the time that I had him. But it was a very beautiful ceremony, a very nice venue. You will not be surprised if I were to tell you as soon as they made their entrance, they touched the hokey stone and blasted Enter Sandman. And, they had commentary of them coming out from the voice of Virginia Tech football. So congratulations to them. They are off doing what newlyweds do, I guess. They're on their honeymoon. So I will be in with you all week long. Our schedule will, of course, remain the same. Me and Parker today. Nick Frazier will be in with us tomorrow. Corey Curtis on Wednesday, and Teron Davenport, of course, for TD Thursday. But I just wanted to extend my congratulations to them. I promised him I would not destroy his show in the time that I'm filling in. My fingers were crossed behind my back, so we'll see if things actually come to fruition in that. But I'm very excited for them. I've never seen Jake Lyman party that hard. It was a lot of fun to watch. So congrats to them. Congrats to the happy couple. We wish them nothing but luck and a long, long, happy life together. Obviously, you guys know Jake was my first co-host ever on this station. So the fact that I got to witness him be married and meet his family and meet his fiance was something really special. So, of course, I wish them a long, long, happy life together. Given how long they've been together, I don't think that's going to be too much to ask for. They've been dating since middle school, but it is truly special to see a friend of yours get married. So, congratulations to them, and we hope they enjoy their relaxation. Parker, I was disappointed you weren't there. I know you probably weren't invited, but you would have. That's a rub it in. But
Connor,
I know
oh my gosh, man! Just air out our dirty laundry here for the entire state to hear.
Well, you were off doing something fun on Saturday too, so
I attended the Luke Combs concert with my wife, celebrating her graduation coming up this upcoming Friday from Belmont with her doctorate. So, Doctor.
There you go.
It feels weird calling her Dr. Kelly because that's my dad. My dad is also a doctor. So,
Dr. Kelly.
I guess we have two doctors in the family. But yeah, it was cool seeing Luke Combs at Neyland. 110,000 people there. I have that itch for football. But being there, it scratched that itch a little bit, but it made the itch come back even more aggressive. So I'm ready for football.
Oh, I've been ready for football, and we got a long way to go. But I saw he brought out my pick. Obviously on this tour, he's been doing a college tour, so he's just bringing out alumni of whatever school he's been at. I was like, Joey Aguilar is a former App State guy. I would imagine he's going to be there. So, of course, he was there to shotgun the beer with him and Josh Heupel, and Peyton Manning, of course, was there. I believe the other one was Al Wilson, if I'm correct there. But I wish I could have gone. It was like $30 tickets last time I looked. I would have made the 3-hour drive out to Knoxville for that.
Oh, dude, it was worth it. He brought out Peyton Manning, Joey Aguilar, Josh Heupel, Al Wilson. It was great. And then they played Spooky Rocky Top as he was walking out. It was one of the best entrances I've seen in a long time in a
Spooky
concert.
Rocky Top.
Spooky Rocky Top.
That is certainly a choice in the beginning of May.
It worked. It got the crowd fired up.
I would imagine
all 110 of my closest friends. So
yeah, your brother's in orange.
it was great. No, it was definitely one of the best concerts I've ever been to. So shout out Luke Combs.
So your wife is going to beat me to graduation because I graduate this Saturday.
That's crazy because she went to school an extra 3 years and is still going to beat you.
Yeah, that's wild. I mean, she's a little bit more important than I am getting her doctorate, but it's a massive week in the Newt household. Every day seems like something big is happening. Like, obviously, this week I'm on all week with you and with our guests that are coming in. But today I've got to pick up family from the airport. Tomorrow I've got to go do something. Wednesday I'm going to a big concert. Thursday something's happening. Friday I'm off, which I guess I accidentally called out that day. I'm not sure why I'm off, but that's okay. And then Saturday is my big graduation. Then, of course, Sunday is Mother's Day. So it's a massive week for us here in the Newt household.
Yeah, and certainly a lot of places to go in the sports world is where, it's funny because we're going to get to that point in June and July where it's, what does Jake call it, Mount Rushmore season, where we're just
Mount Rushmore
things.
Season.
By the way, it is in the works that Corey Curtis and I may have a day in June where we rank our MCU movies.
I need in on that.
We'll worry about that when the time comes, but we got, Stanley Cup playoffs, NBA, Titans just wrapped up rookie minicamp. This Brendan Sorsby stuff gets crazier by the day. No, I don't think 3 hours is going to be enough.
No, 3 hours is never enough. It's always seems to go by fast, especially when I'm on the air with Jake and you, and it'll go by really fast today since it's just the two of us. And a lot of football talk to talk about today. We'll talk Titans. We'll talk Brendan Sorsby. We'll talk college football in general. Stanley Cup playoffs. Of course, I have to bring up hockey because hockey guru Parker Kelly is with me today. We'll talk.
Hey, I've been watching. I feel prepared today, guys.
I, of course, have to take my victory lap on Parker's Vols here in a little bit. We'll do that later in the show. Them Kentucky Wildcats may have lost yesterday, but they win the series against the Vols, the base Vols, and they have to have series for both teams. We'll get into that. And then, of course, probably to close the show, maybe at some point, I'll need some advice from a fellow concert goer, and I open that up to you. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. But coming up next, I want to get into the dichotomy of the Titans wide receiver room. We know about Carnell Tate and the expectations that are presented with him being the fourth player off the board in the first round. But how consistent of a unit does the wide receiver room in general for the Titans need to be to accelerate the growth of one Cameron Ward? We'll discuss that coming up next. Again, I am live out here at the very beautiful Hermitage Golf Course. People are already getting their shots up at 9 in the morning, bright and early. Rise and grind, as they said in Rudy. But Parker, of course, back at the station running things. We will be with you here until noon. We'll talk Titans coming up next right here on Next Man Up on 102.5 The Game. I was wondering when this was going to come up. May the 4th be with all of you. A very underrated but very important holiday in male culture and female culture. We're all inclusive here on 1025 The Game. I am a massive Star Wars fan, so I'm appreciative of the things you did here. I'm excited for the new movie here in a couple weeks, the Mandalorian movie. But
You
that
think it'll be good?
I think so. I like the Mandalorian, so
I have no idea. I actually haven't seen The Mandalorian, so I don't
at
have
all,
a comment. Nope.
at all, you'll like it. It's really good.
I've seen all the movies though. I haven't seen all the TV shows.
Yeah, I'm a little bit behind on some of the TV shows, but Mandalorian is the one I'm caught up on. So I need to get on the I think the Darth Maul show just came out. I got to watch that one because I love Darth Maul, but I'll get into that one. Next man up here on 1025 The Game, Connor Newt, Parker Kelly here with you on this Monday morning. Let's get into the Titans. So I want to do a little bit of a deep dive here on the Titans wide receiver room and ultimately what kind of success they present, not just to the team, but to the growth of Cam Ward. We know what Carnell Tate needs to be. We've talked ad nauseum about it ever since that name was read at the podium from Roger Goodell. Carnell Tate needs to be nothing short of wide receiver one for this team, not just for the team, but for Cam Ward because of the development and because I think that their legacies are now tied, and we'll get to that in just a second. But outside of Carnell Tate, I think that the wide receiver room needs to be nothing short of consistent on a weekly basis. And I think that's doable with a wide receiver room, if he can stay healthy, of Calvin Ridley, with Chim DK, who I think you can plug in at various spots. Carnell Tate, of course. Elikiah Manor, where can he move in throughout the slot? Wandale Robinson, who you went out and spent money on. And, of course, he'll be a moving factor into the slot and a guy familiar with Brian Daboll's offense. This room needs to be nothing short of a consistent ball-moving threat. Because when you have a young franchise quarterback in Cam Ward and you've revitalized your wide receiver room to the ability that you've been doing, yes, I understand it may not be the pristine wide receiver room. There's no Jamar Chase and T. Higgins out there. But still, I think this is a very young and very capable wide receiver room. They have to be able to score more than 16 points a game because you saw what 16 points a game can do for you. It can win you 3 games. Over the last 3 years, the Titans have won a total of 12 games, which is not great. So you obviously have some momentum moving towards the offensive side of the ball, and I think that begins with the wide receiver room. They, as a unit, need to be consistent because that helps the offense in general, and most importantly, that helps your young second-year franchise quarterback that pretty much everything is riding on. If he is anything short of number 1 overall, then the whole situation you have going here is going to fall off the rails relatively quickly. I think it rides on the wide receiver room. And we can talk about the running back room here in a second. But the wide receiver room in general is something that I think you need to see some major improvements from. And I think on paper, it's something they're capable of doing. It's just a matter of, are they taking the right steps forward? Are they staying healthy? And does the game plan match up what they're willing to do? Parker, is this something that you agree with on the consistency level of the wide receiver room?
Yeah, so you know that when the Titans hired Robert Saleh, I was very skeptical. I think Robbie Stanley talked about this last week and really hit the nail on the head because a lot of the fans are getting super excited about this coaching staff, and I agree. There's a lot to be excited about, right? You have the new stadium in 27. You just got the rebrand, the new uniforms, the new coaching staff. There's a lot of new, right? But you look at these coaches, right? Brian Daboll, who's a great offensive mind. Robert Saleh, great defensive mind. Gus Bradley. But if you look at their records as head coaches, right, it's well below 500 if you combine all 3 of them. So
yeah,
I get it. This is a second chance for Robert Saleh. You never really had to worry about the defensive side of the ball, right? When he was in San Francisco both times or with New York, but it was always the offense that you had to worry about. So when they took Carnell Tate with the 4th overall pick, that gave me a little bit of hope because I'm like, okay, they're taking this seriously on building around Cam Ward because I say this all the time. If Cam Ward doesn't work out, a lot of the people in the building, in the front office, are going to be losing their jobs. So you have to make sure that Cam Ward works out. When I watch Carnell Tate, and I watched a lot of Carnell Tate, I remember watching him back to his high school days because he was one of the big recruits that was in the mix to maybe going to Tennessee. Tennessee and Ohio State were his 1 and 2 options coming out of high school. So I watch Carnell Tate, and I think low-end wide receiver 1, high-end wide receiver 2. I have no doubt that he's going to work out in the NFL because these Ohio State receivers tend to work out. But are you going to be that upper echelon, elite level wide receiver that if you're drafted 4th overall, you're expected to be? Are you going to be, get to that 1,300-yard mark within the next 3 years like I've asked? That's something that I expect. If you're a 4th overall receiver, I need 1,300 yards from you within the next 3 years, and I don't think that's too crazy to ask. So there's going to be a lot of expectations, but it does give me a little bit more comfort that they are building around Cam Ward.
And I think that's the key point that you have to have. And ultimately, it goes beyond just trust in the room and trust in the coaching staff. You have to trust your GM and your front office to make sure that they've put the pieces in front of you to be able to compete. And I'm not saying the Titans are going to be a playoff team. In fact, I wouldn't expect that. But I think it's fair to expect maybe 6 to 7 to 8 wins from this group. You need to see some level of improvement, especially as they head towards the opening of a new stadium. You've got young pieces. This shouldn't be a factor, but it will be. You've got new uniforms that you want to look nice and win in. So that's definitely a factor. I've kind of separated Carnell Tate from this conversation for a reason, just because I think we know the expectations for him. Look, he's got to be nothing short of a 1,000-yard receiver year in and year out. And I heard Corey Curtis say this on Robbie and Rex Road about an hour ago. If you do the math and you average it out a little bit, Carnell Tate only needs like 60 yards per game to get to 1,000-yard, meaning he's playing in all 17 games in the season.
Right.
But he only needs to hit about 60 yards per game to get to that point. That's not a tough ask. And I've analyzed Carnell Tate's college tape. You probably have as well. He's not a big yak guy. He's not a kind of guy that he's going to get his hands on the ball and get about 20 more yards running. I think if he's going up for a contested catch, he's going to get his hands on the ball. In fact, I would almost guarantee he's going to get hands on the ball because he dropped about 4 passes total in college. But as soon as he grabs that ball, he's going down just because he's a contested specialist. He's not much of a yards after catch guy. I think the committee as a whole in the wide receiver room is going to be important to watch because it's a lot of players that have different assets, different things they bring to the table. Like Calvin Ridley, we know what he is. He can be a yak specialist. Jim DK, we know, is a yak specialist. Elk Iomanner and Wan'Dale Robinson are more of your slot across the middle guys, but they can get you some good move the chains yards. I think overall, you're just going to have to find wide receivers that know how to produce in their roles. Wan'Dale Robinson, I think, is, other than Carnell Tate, probably the most important wide receiver on this roster, just because we know how Cam Ward operates. We know that he loves to throw the ball across the middle, and your slot receiver in Wan'Dale Robinson likes to run those routes across the middle and is rather effective at that too. So I think overall, to basically sum up this conversation, you have to find the roles that your wide receivers provide you, and every wide receiver on this team gives you something different. But I think once they start to find consistency and Cam Ward starts to take steps forward to develop as a quarterback in this league, then I think we can start to see some progress in the offense. And I trust Brian Daboll in his play calling abilities. He's proven that he's a capable play caller at the NFL level in the coordinator position. And you mentioned, Parker, that, every coach on this roster has had some failures as a head coach. And it's fair to expect some failures from head coaches just because that's the nature of the job. No head coach is perfect. But there have been extenuating circumstances that have provided that. Like Robert Saleh, we've talked about before, his situation with the Jets. And believe it or not, the Jets are a worse run organization than the Titans. Plus, he had to deal with the Aaron Rodgers situation. Brian Daboll had some failures in New York. But let's not forget, he's a coach of the year before. Before the whole, he had Daniel Jones playing good caliber football. Saquon Barkley was a dynamic running back in that offense. They were a playoff team. So obviously things went wrong there, but these are coaches on your offense and on your defense too that have proven that they can handle big roles like this. So I I don't think it's fair. It's fair to expect disappointment because we know what the Tennessee Titans are. But I think it's important to look forward to the season and say that if players are starting to take the steps in the directions that they need to be taking, this team could be improved. And this team, honestly, I think could compete for that AFC South division.
See, that's too rich for me to say right now. I think where I'm setting the bar for this season is 7 wins, because if you had 3 wins last year, you had 3 wins the year before, 6 total in the last 2 years. If you're able to eclipse that mark in year 1 and get 7, I think that is a definitely a step in the right direction. But I do feel good about the defense. I don't think the defense is going to be
Hard
an
not
issue,
to.
right?
Yeah.
Because Salah's kind of taken the same approach that Jim Knowles took, right, when he took the defensive coordinator job at Tennessee. The first time when he left Ohio State, he went to Penn State. He didn't bring former assistants with him. He didn't bring former players. And the wraparound Jim Knowles defense is, well, it's really hard to learn in year 1. It takes a couple of seasons. Same thing with Salah. I think Salah can run a complicated defense, although he has made it seem like it's going to be quite simple, in the press conferences that he's had. But he's brought assistants with him from former stops. He's brought players with him from former stops. So I think that's going to ease the learning curve tremendously for the defense. But the offense, we can't act like the offensive line, at least on paper right now, is not a problem heading in. I don't
Right.
know if they built. I can't bring myself to say that they've built enough around Cam Ward for this season, but we'll just have to see.
Yeah, and look, I'm not coming out here and saying the Titans are going to be playoff contenders. I'm just saying they have the opportunity to compete for the AFC South, given where that division is right now. Like, I don't think the Colts are going to be very good this year. They have a lot of question marks heading into the season. I think the Jags are going to take a step back. The Texans on paper look like the best team in this division, but they've got some quarterback questions. I heard Robbie and Joe talking about this, and CJ Stroud's got a big prove it year coming up next. So we'll see. But I think overall it's fair to expect some improvement from this offense and some improvement from this team. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'll get to your calls and texts coming up next and continue this conversation. Our Titans offseason coverage, of course, is presented by Tennessee Brewworks, the official craft beer of the football season, with coverage on ESPN 1025 The Game. We'll continue the conversation coming up next. Connor Newt, Parker Kelly here with you on Next Man Up on 1025 The Game. Next man up here on 102.5 The Game. Connor Newt, Parker Kelly here with you. Jake Lyman out, off on his honeymoon. Hope he's enjoying himself out there. Again, congratulations to the happy couple. So I am in with you all week long, except for Friday, when I think Nick Frazier and Parker Kelly will have you covered there. We are discussing the Titans offseason, and specifically, I wanted to focus in on the wide receiver room for the Tennessee Titans and what kind of role they provide, not just for the success of the offense and the team, but for the success of Titans quarterback Cam Ward. So let's get to some of your texts and calls. Again, 615-737-1025 is the phone number. 1095 says too much of last year's offensive failures were put on the wide receiving core. Going forward, the wide receivers can only be successful if they have a quarterback that can actually get the ball on target. It's time to put the blame on inaccuracy down the field by the quarterback and stop covering and making excuses for him. I agree to some point. I think the time for making excuses for Cam Ward is running out. He's still going to have some leeway. He's a second-year quarterback in a new offense with a new coordinator and a new head coach. But you're right in that you need to start seeing some accuracy and some consistency from Cam Ward. Last year, I think, was a roller coaster for him, and not in a bad way and not in a good way. You saw some really great moments and some really good things from Cam Ward last year. You also saw some really inconsistent things, and I don't want to say really horrifying things, but there were mistakes. He dropped a lot of balls. There were times where he just flat out fumbled the ball. So I think Cam Ward is going to start to get some more blame this season. Maybe not to the level of, oh my God, everything is his fault, but he's going to start to get some blame this year. Keegan on our text line says, speaking of roles, I think Carnell fits the role the team needed most in the room. A bigger body contested guy is something we certainly didn't have. At least his role matches his strengths. You know, we've talked about Carnell Tate, and I think the word being thrown out for the pick now is safe. Just because it's a wide receiver, it's something that you kind of give Cam Ward moving forward. It's a running mate for him. And like Keegan mentions, he has the physical body type to be a successful receiver in this league in a contested way. Kind of like a DK Metcalf in a roundabout way. I think that's the comparison I've been seeing being made around. But ultimately, I think this goes to prove my point and the point that Parker is making as well. The Titans wide receiver room and Cam Ward are married this season. They should always be married because a quarterback and a wide receiver ultimately connect on pass catches. But they are married to success this year because I think if one is bad, chances are the other is bad. I think it's more likely that the wide receiver room is bad than Cam Ward is bad, but we'll see. We got a long way to go before they hit the field. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Let's go to our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Our good buddy Dustin in Hopkinsville has been on the line waiting very patiently. Dustin, go ahead.
What's up, brothers? So I do have a little bit to unpack. Give me just a minute.
Yes, sir.
All right. So Borgonzi, everything revolves around him, in my opinion. We have another leader again. Very quiet, but there's a storm brewing always. It's a very calm storm, but it's not a storm you want to step into. His mind, I'd love to pick it every now and then, and he keeps things quiet. Where Vrabel let things get out when he was here. You know, and they're a GM and a coach, but we know why things are getting out. About to get in the Rossini and Rachel thing, but the pick, I called in that week of the draft, and I said, I want them to go either trade back and get Lyman or get Ward another weapon. This young quarterback cannot have enough receivers to throw to. He needs protected, but the quicker guys can get off the line, get open, and he gets that rapport in practice. And this summer, before they start the season, it's going to show in the first 3 games quick. And Borgonzi, while I like what he did, he is protecting himself while he's also protecting the team. It's a revolving circle. He's a businessman. We're not going to win the Super Bowl this year. We're probably not going to win it next year. And we'll be competitive. If he's still here, we will be competitive in the fourth year? Tate was a great pick. Now, did we reach it for a little bit, but was he a top 10 pick? Oh, yes, definitely a top 10 pick. And, everybody's like, well, he had the other guy, what's his name, on his team that took passes away from him. But this guy catches the ball. What the Titans have not had a guy that just catches the ball other than Gunnar Helm is that guy now. And Chig was pretty much his best receiver, but Gunnar Helm, I think you get Gunnar Helm, Tate, and then a healthy Ridley, and now we got Wan'Dale Robinson. We went from, in my opinion, Ridley and a couple of rookies that are looking promising in DK and Iron Manor to overnight. We have a respectable wide receiver room, and if Ridley stays healthy, we've got that down the field guy, and he's not going to get injured as easily because not all the pressure's on him. Every play isn't about him as the receiver. I really think this team is based on Cam Ward's and injuries. And if anybody gets injured on the line, there's all kinds of excuses. And if you say we're done making excuses for Cam Ward, you got to give Levis another chance too, because I'm so excited about the defense. We got Robert Saleh. Look what Dable has done with what was it, Daniel? Whatever his
Daniel
last
Jones.
name was.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones, look what he did with Jackson Dart last year. But Jackson Dart was his own worst enemy like Levis. I honestly think, crazy take, but I think that Dable is salivating at the mouth to have Levis and Ward on this team. At any point, they both can make or break his job. If Ward goes down, we got another backup, but Hooker ain't even in the ballpark of Levis. Okay, y'all need to get that out of your head. But I think he loves having these two young quarterbacks and seeing nobody can judge Levis or Cam Ward in their first year because of the head coach they had. Come on, guys. He was cheap. Like he wasn't even taking it until he was making it. He was crying in his closet every day when he went home, guys.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Dustin. I got to cut you off a little bit, but thanks for the call. Yeah, he said something there that I think is kind of the point I'm trying to hammer home here. And Parker, it's one word, respectable. I think the Titans have made a respectable wide receiver room. Now, respectable and elite are not the same thing. In fact, I think this room is far from elite. But on paper, this is a respectable wide receiver room. This is a room that you think can come in and do their job and at least give Cam Ward some sense of success. Like I said, Cam Ward is not going to get every excuse in the book this year. He got that last year as a rookie. This is the time where you need to see some steps forwards, a little bit of improvement. He's going to get some leeway because he's a young quarterback with a new coach and a new receiving room. But this is the time where we start to be a little harder on him. I think that the wide receiver room being respectable, key word there, that's the magic word, respectable. I think that is going to play a factor into the success of Cam Ward. This is on paper, of course, because we haven't seen them on the field. But if they go out there and do what they're capable of doing on paper, I think that this offense can be a lot better than it was last year.
Well, the room does, it's a lot better from, you're going from Calvin Ridley being your wide receiver one, having to rely on a pair of rookies with Alec Eomanor and Jim Dike, and you have Traylon Burks in there, Bryce Oliver, who was hurt and didn't play a whole lot besides on special teams. The room looks a lot better. You bring in Wan'Dale Robinson, you draft Carnell Tate. TD made the comment last week when he was on with us that he thinks Wan'Dale Robinson is going to be Cam Ward's go-to guy this year, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Carnell Tate is a rookie. I still would like 1,000 yards from Carnell Tate this year. I think that is the base minimum. But if Wan'Dale Robinson's the go-to, I'm okay with that. But that can't be okay moving forward. Carnell Tate has to be, wide receiver one. I do feel a lot better about the pass catchers. It's not elite, but it's better than last year. My main area of focus is the offensive line because I've talked about this with Jake. Edge rushers, any head coach is going to tell you can never have too many edge rushers. I don't feel great about the edge rushers, but I feel good about the interior of the offensive line. But NFL defenses are a little bit different nowadays in which they're prioritizing, rushing up the middle a little bit and creating, forcing the quarterback to escape the pocket. So Cam Ward, is mobile enough to be able to make plays outside of the pocket. But if you don't have that interior, offensive line triangle solidified, your left guard, center, right guard triangle, then it's going to make things really difficult on Cam this year. You feel good about Skoronski. The Titans just picked up his 5th year, but what are you going to do at center? It's either going to be Schlotman or Coogan. And what are you going to do about right guard? You know, those are they're going to be filled by guys who don't have a lot of NFL experience. So that is certainly a big concern for this team.
Yeah, poor Dustin's getting hammered on the text line because he said they need to give Will Levis another chance. I chose to ignore that comment.
Yeah, that's not happening. Why else would the team bring in Mitch Trubisky, right? I'm with Jake. I would have loved to trade him, during draft weekend. Ask for a 5th, probably not going to get a 5th, get a 6th. I think getting a 6th for Will Levis is probably fair.
Yeah, it's just a matter of what is his value. And I don't know if they attempted to trade him during the draft, but if they did, I don't know what kind of value he would bring.
Well, hold on. I know we got to get to break, but I know that there was this clip that went viral on Twitter about how NIL and transfer portal kind of cut out 4 through 7 rounds this year. So you probably would have gotten a 6th for Levis. If you don't think there's not a whole lot of value there, then I can understand the team not wanting to trade him during draft weekend, but he's not. I don't think he's going to be on the team much longer.
615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'll get to some more of your texts coming up next. And we've kind of deep dived into the wide receiver room. Let's go to the other room on the offensive skill positions, the running back room. How effective can they actually be? Do we really trust an aging Pollard and an injured Tajay Spears behind, cough, cough, this offensive line? We'll discuss that coming up next. Plus, there's a comment on the text line that I want to get to. We'll do that coming up next right here on Next Man Up. Connor Newt, Parker Kelly here with you on 102.5 The Game. Boxing fans, 102.5 The Game and Team Boxing League have your chance to win tickets to see Nashville Smash take on the Boston Butchers at Municipal Auditorium on Saturday, May 23rd. 16 rounds and 16 fighters each go at it for one round of nonstop action. Text the keyword FIGHT, that's FIGHT, to the Game Nashville text line at 615-737-1025 to enter for your chance to win. Welcome back in. Next man up here on 102.5 The Game. Connor Newt, Parker Kelly with you on this Monday. I am live from the beautiful Hermitage Golf Course. People are out here getting shots up, which is nice. We're here.
Shots up? Are they playing basketball?
Shots out. I don't know. Can you tell I'm not a golf person?
I can really tell.
Am I putting that out there?
Maybe just a little bit.
I dressed appropriately for the occasion. Polo and shorts, I feel like, was the move today.
So that means that you have to go out and you have to get some shots later after the show.
I guess so. I guess that would be I'm not paying for it, I hope, but I'm not doing it. But there is one text that I want to get to before we get into the running back room. Someone on our text line, 5745, said Carnell Tate didn't have 1,000 yards at Ohio State. Be more realistic. This is, I think, the laziest take about Carnell Tate, is that he is not the number one receiver on his college team. But I think you can go across the other 135 teams in FBS football, and I don't think anyone would be wide receiver one in front of Jeremiah Smith. Jeremiah Smith is that elite of a prospect. He's that elite of a college wide receiver. And looking at Tate's stats last year, he had 838 for 9 touchdowns. That's moderately good. Actually, that's really good for a receiver playing behind Jeremiah Smith. So I am already tired of that narrative of, well, he wasn't even the best receiver on his team. And no one would be the best receiver behind Jeremiah Smith. I feel like that's just a lazy take.
No, it is, because the talent is clearly there with Carnell Tate, right? And Emeka Egbuka wasn't the number one receiver on his team either. And he did pretty well with the Bucs last year. So it is a lazy take. And also, too, you consider the room that he was in, right? Emeka Egbuka was in that room with Carnell Tate. Jeremiah Smith was in that room. Brandon Ennis in that room. You have it's a crowded. I mean, Ohio State it can make the case for being wide receiver U. So
they are.
You got all these wide receivers in there, right? And not to mention, too, Carnell Tate's had 3 different quarterbacks during his 3 seasons at Ohio State. So it's not necessarily making excuses, but it's providing context, right? Because it's a very low-hanging fruit argument to say, well, he never had 1,000 yards. He wasn't wide receiver one. Listen, Jeremiah Smith, you put him on any team in the country, and whoever their number one option was before is now wide receiver 2. It just happens that way.
Yeah, I mean, maybe this is a vote of confidence, or maybe it's wishful thinking, but if there's one thing I know about Ohio State, is that they pump out NFL-ready wide receivers. Whether or not that's the case for Carnell Tate remains to be seen, but you look across the league, Emeka Egbuka is going to be a good receiver in Tampa Bay. I mean, you can go back to the former guys, like Michael Thomas was the best receiver in the league for a while. Ohio State, I think, in my mind, is wide receiver U. Jackson Smith-Njigba is probably the best receiver in the league right now. Where did he play college ball? Ohio State. It's between Ohio State and LSU as far as who wide receiver U is, but in my mind, it's Ohio State. But enough about the running back room. Right now, I think we need to talk about the running back room. Or did I say, enough about the wide receiver room.
Yep.
We'll talk about the running back room. Words are hard. I want to talk about the running back room knowing what we know. Knowing that we know that Tony Pollard is still an effective running back most of the time, but he is declining. He is getting old, and that's just kind of how it works with aging running backs. The market, it is what it is, and he's declining because of his age. And Tajay Spears, I am starting to share the opinion that Jake has that he may not make this roster. He's going to have to have a really good camp to be able to be a factor on this roster. But knowing what we know about these two running backs behind a, let's just say, average offensive line on paper, I'm worried about the running back room. And I think some of that comes with the fact that we could have had Jeremiah Love. And, that's water under the bridge. There's nothing we can do about that. But how safe do you really feel about putting an aging Tony Pollard and an injury-prone Tajay Spears out on the field behind I don't know about average, I think is the perfect word to describe this offensive line. How safe do you feel about that, Parker?
Not great. Not if I'm being honest with you, not great. So with the running back room, this is what I think needs. I think you keep Tony Pollard because he's been 1,000-yard rusher the last 2 seasons. I think Nick Singleton is going to get to that running back 2 spot because there was a lot of value there in the 5th round. We're talking about the career rushing yards leader at Penn State ahead of Saquon Barkley. So yes, his progress kind of declined a little bit last year during his senior year, but too, he split a lot of carries with Katron Allen, so he'll be coming in relatively fresh compared to some of these other guys. I think that he is going to work up to that running back 2 spot. With Tajay Spears, it's not that the talent isn't there, because when he's out there and he's healthy, he makes plays. But at the same time, too, if I can't rely on you to be on the field, then you don't serve much of a purpose. And that may sound a little harsh, but I think you could trade Tajay Spears and get a good return. But if you're looking to move off of somebody, I think Tajay Spears is probably the guy to move off of.
Yeah, I mean, he's expendable. I think especially with the Nick Singleton pick and you brought in Michael Carter in free agency, he's expendable. He is no longer a guaranteed lock to make this roster. But it's the running back room is concerning to me. And a texter says declining, as in he had a great back half of the season. He did. That is true. But you also have to understand the inconsistencies that come with being a running back in the NFL. Derrick Henry is the outlier because Derrick Henry, for some reason, at the age of 34, continues to dominate the league the way he's capable of doing. Tony Pollard, he had a great back half of the season. I agree with you there. But you have to understand, just because he has a good back half of the season doesn't mean it's guaranteed he's going to ride that out into the next season. He's an aging back, and that's just how running backs work. He is declining. He is not the same running back last year for Tennessee that he was the year before. There's no question that he's declining. So I am a bit concerned about the running back room for the Tennessee Titans.
But also, too, I'm actually, looking back on it since, the Cardinals took Jeremiah Love with the 3rd overall pick. If you would have put all your eggs in, okay, we're drafting Jeremiah Love, and it turns out the Cardinals got him, and now you're, now what, right? So I'm glad that the team didn't trade Tony Pollard last year because let's say hypothetically they did. Who's going to be your running back 1 this year? Would you feel comfortable with Tajay Spears as your RB1? Because I sure
absolutely
wouldn't.
Not. Nope.
And I wouldn't feel comfortable, trotting a rookie out there to be the running back 1 either. So, I'm glad that they kept him around, but Tajay Spears, I love Tajay. I was a huge fan of him coming out of Tulane, but if you're just not going to be out there on the field, it's hard for me to rely on you and want to keep you on the roster.
Yeah, the running back market is expendable, and I think we are learning that pretty quickly. 615-737-1025 is the phone number if you want to get involved in the conversation. I am out here at Hermitage Golf Course benefiting Stars annual golf tournament, the Hart Golf Classic. For more than 30 years, this tournament's been going on, so appreciate them for having me out here today. It looks like people are already getting warmed up out there, and I think they had a nice little breakfast here. They're providing lunch here. It's going to be a fun day here at Hermitage Golf Course. So I appreciate the opportunity to be out here. Coming up next, though, we'll get to some of your texts. We'll wrap up this running back conversation on the other side. Plus, the Brendan Sorsby situation. Of course, you know him as the quarterback from Cincinnati who transferred over to Texas Tech. Got caught gambling, more than $10,000 in bets placed. I believe it was more than 20 bets per day they found out. The story is deepening and the plot is thickening. So we'll get to that on the other side as well. Connor Newt, Parker Kelly here with you on Next Man Up on 102.5 The Game. Hour number 2 of Next Man Up here on 102.5 The Game. Connor Newt, Parker Kelly here with you on this Monday. Jake Lyman out this week. He is off on his honeymoon, celebrating what Dove Kleiman thinks is the most important thing in life, and that is true love. So congratulations to him. I am out here at the Hermitage Golf Course for Stars with them for the Hart Golf Classic. Of course, Stars benefits mental health in young people, and as someone who has struggled with that a little bit throughout my life, I feel this is a very, very good cause, and it's going to be a very fun day. Parker, of course, back at our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Wrapping up our conversation we've been having over the last hour on the Titans and their offensive, just in general, their offense. Damien in Nashville on our text line brings up a good point and makes me feel a little bit dumb, but that's okay. He says, I don't think declining is the correct word for Tony Pollard. You can say he's getting older, yes. He's progressed every year since he's been in the league, and that is true because I'm looking at the stats right now, and he has slightly been consistent. Last year for the Titans, 242 carries for 1,082 yards. That's 4.5 average per run and 5 touchdowns. I mean, those are solid numbers. He's a 1,000-yard receiver, and that's kind of what you want in a running back. I think aging is probably the correct word there. Declining, maybe not. He might be declining. We don't know yet. But aging is the right word, I think you could put there. Behind this offensive line and what we think they are, and with an injury-prone Tajay Spears, which I can absolutely say is a fact there, I think aging is probably the right word. So thank you, Damien in Nashville. You made me look like less of an idiot, so I appreciate that. By the way, Parker, if you want to feel good about something, Carnell Tate last year for Ohio State, 51 catches for 875 yards. That's an average of 79.5 per game. Obviously, it's a little bit different because he played, 14 games last year. Well, he only played in 11 of those games last year for Ohio State. But I have taken the average yardage of his season last year, so that would be 79.5, multiplied it by 17, just to give a rough outline of maybe just an example of what he could do if he produces the same way this season. I have come up with the yards he is expected this season, if he continues that, 1,351. I would feel really good about that season. I don't know about you, but I would feel really good about
as
that
a rookie.
Season. As a rookie,
1,351 as a rookie.
That's what the math says.
I would be ecstatic with that as a rookie.
I mean, we might as well throw the parade.
So here's where I'm setting the baseline now. We've gone back and forth about this, right? You know, we had a caller last week say he'd be happy with 700. I'm like, no. If you're the 4th overall pick, you get 700 yards, I will be disappointed. Yeah. I can't remember. Somebody said 800. I'm setting the bar minimum at 1,000. You know, because if you're going to be drafted 4th overall as a receiver, expectations are going to be sky high, right? This is a little bit different pressure than Treylon Burks, because Treylon Burks, yeah, he was a first-round pick, but he was mid-first-round pick, and he was brought in to replace A.J. Brown's. There were always unfair expectations placed on Treylon Burks. With these expectations with Carnell Tate, they're still super high, but rightfully so because you spent a 4th overall pick on him.
Yeah, and it's also worth noting that Tate only had 66 targets last year, which, again, goes towards our point. You're not going to have as many targets as Jeremiah Smith on your team. It's just going to be the thing that it is. Words are not wording for me right now. But I think 1,000 is a great baseline because you draft a receiver at number 4 overall. That should be the bare minimum. I want to also say he's probably got to play in all 17 games. At least, I'll even give him some leeway. Play in 15 of the 17 games with 1,000 yards, and I will feel really, really good about Carnell Tate moving forward. If he has 1,300 plus, that means he's having like a generational season. And also that just means he's a standout in the wide receiver room. And, you know, maybe Calvin Ridley is battling injuries, which I would expect nothing less. Maybe Wan'Dale Robinson isn't exactly as advertised. But I wouldn't expect 1,300 plus. That was just kind of the math that came out. I think 1,000 is a good baseline. Anything less than that, I think we're not going to say bust after 1 year, but it is disappointing. And anything over that, obviously, is great. If Tate puts up 700 yards, as Cameron on the text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com says, 615-737-1025. If Tate puts up 700 yards, we're going to have to start thinking about who the next GM will be. 700 is unacceptable. You need way more than that from Carnell Tate. And we could talk all day about this and the expectations for Carnell Tate, but the bottom line is you draft a receiver at number 4. I don't care how safe of a pick you think it is. I don't care how much of a reach you think it is. You draft that player at number 4, you expect results. And the results to me and you, Parker, are a baseline of 1,000 yards, and he's got to be moderately healthy throughout the entire season. He's got to be consistent because not only is his career dependent on it, the career of Cam Ward is dependent on it too.
Yeah, no, they are going to be tied, right? Because they were, Cam Ward was drafted last year, but you're drafting this weapon to help out Cam Ward. And, I don't have any doubts that they're going to get the chemistry down because of Cam Ward's work ethic. And, he'll be throwing with these guys at 5 a.m., right? So they'll be able, I have confidence that they'll be able to develop that chemistry. But again, I need to see results, right? If you're going to be the 4th overall pick, like I'm going to need you out on the field. I'm going to need you producing. I'm going to need you to be able to beat press coverage. I'm going to ask you to beat zone, right? I'm going to ask you to do all these different things because the expectations are going to be high with you, and you have to be able to handle that. I do think he has the mental makeup to do so, which is a good thing. But again, we need to see it.
Yeah, and I think the mental makeups of both players match up. I mean, Cam Ward is a team-first guy, but he has that mentality of, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to do everything that it takes to win. Carnell Tate comes from a winning program, a program that won a national championship, a program that is consistently in the college football playoff. So he has to be the player you drafted him to be. Those mental makeups need to match up, and I think they will. I think that they're capable of doing that. It's just a matter of, do the numbers put out what they say that you wanted? Let's see. 3280 says Marvin Harrison Jr. was drafted number 4 and only had 800 as a rookie. Yeah, and I think, what is the national narrative on Marvin Harrison Jr. right now? It's the fact that he has underdelivered. Marvin Harrison Jr. was a hotter prospect than Carnell Tate coming out of Ohio State. He was a prospect that people thought was going to be a generational wide receiver. He was Jeremiah Smith before Jeremiah Smith was Jeremiah Smith. So Marvin Harrison Jr. having only 800 yards as a rookie, first off, I think is just the perfect narrative for the Arizona Cardinals as a franchise, having Kyler Murray throw you the ball and Jacoby Brissett as well. But he needs to step up. This is a big prove-it year for Marvin Harrison Jr. because you're in an offense now. Granted, I know Jacoby Brissett is throwing you the ball, but you're in an offense now with 3 playmakers, including yourself. Marvin Harrison Jr., Trey McBride, and now Jeremiah Love. He needs to separate himself from the rest of the pack so we can start to see that generational prospect narrative come to fruition. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Coming up next, we'll get into Brennan Sorsby. Just kind of wanted to wrap up the Titans conversation for a little bit, and we'll get back into the Titans later on in the show on the defensive side of the ball. But coming up next, we'll get into Brennan Sorsby and his problems with Texas Tech. Texter saying Kyler Murray is in Minnesota. Yes, I know. Kyler Murray played at Arizona and was throwing Marvin Harrison the ball. We understand this. Coming up next, we'll get into Brennan Sorsby and his problems with gambling. And will he ever see the field again? And how deep does this story go? We'll get to that coming up next, right here on Next Man Up. Connor Newt, not Jake Lyman, Connor Newt, Parker Kelly here with you on 102.5 The Game. There she is. Ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Tate McRae bringing us back here. Next man up, Connor Newt, Parker Kelly here with you on 102.5 The Game. Breaking news for you Vols basketball fans. Tennessee has landed Wake Forest transfer guard Juke Harris as of about 10 minutes ago. That is a massive grab for Coach Rick Barnes and company, and continues to prove the narrative that Tennessee is loading up this season. I think they're going all in. They're trying to get that national championship, or at least that Final Four appearance, before Rick Barnes hangs it up. So that is a massive, massive get for Vols basketball, getting Juke Harris, the transfer out of Wake Forest, to commit just about 10 minutes ago.
And as I told Jake, he asked me when all these transfers were leaving, he asked me if I was nervous, and I said no, because the payroll is doubled this year. Danny White has doubled Rick Barnes' payroll, and he's going out and he's getting a bunch of scores. Juke Harris is a guy that averaged about 22 points per game last year, the number one overall player in the portal, right? So a lot of these guys that were, playing, however many minutes they were playing, averaging 3 to 4 points per game, right? Your Amari Evans, your Cade Phillips, they were asking for more money than Rick Barnes was willing to give, and he said no. So we let him leave, and, he's bringing in guys who, want to be here, and the expectations for this Vols basketball team should be sky high, because they're going out and they're doing exactly what Michigan did last year.
Yeah, they should. I mean, you got to pay to play nowadays in college sports, and some people don't understand pay to play, and by that I mean Brennan Sorsby, the quarterback for Texas Tech, formerly of Cincinnati. Yeah, rough. That was a good transition.
I know it was, but it's just at his expense, Tough. Yeah. It's tough.
Yeah, I mean, he's in a crappy situation. Of course, if you're not familiar, Brennan Sorsby is under investigation by the NCAA for alleged betting dating back to the 2022 season when he was a redshirt freshman for the Indiana Hoosiers. Again, this was pre-Signetti, so he transferred over to Cincinnati, became the starting quarterback there, then hit the portal, was the number one quarterback in the portal this offseason, and transferred over to Texas Tech with all the oil money they have there. He has allegedly betted over $10,000 in sports gambling. Allegedly, that was towards baseball, Cincinnati Reds baseball, that is. He was betting by pitch, which is about $1 or $2. So do the math in your head. $10,000 is a lot of money. I think I saw a stat that said he was averaging at one point during this time over 20 bets per day, which is some major degenerate stuff going on right there. And I'm not going to use the Rick Merritt comparison again because he came after me last time. But this is still really bad. Since the weekend, he has gone and hired a lawyer for a potential battle to regain some NCAA eligibility. The story keeps getting crazier and crazier, and it gets deeper and deeper as the days go on. I am still pessimistic that we'll ever see Brennan Sorsby play college football again. In fact, I think it might be more of a possibility we see him in the NFL supplementary draft than we see him suit up for Texas Tech this year. Frazier and I talked about this Saturday. I feel like there is a team out there in the NFL that would be willing to sacrifice a third or a fourth round pick on Brennan Sorsby, given the quarterbacks coming out next year. I mean, you're going to have Dante Moore and Arch Manning and maybe someone who transferred. Sam Levitt emerges from LSU as a first-round pick. Brennan Sorsby, I think, could have been in that conversation too if we were going to see him play for Texas Tech. Remember, Cam Ward and Fernando Mendoza weren't being talked about as first-round picks before the college football season. What happened to them? They both went number one overall, respectively. So Brennan Sorsby had the opportunity to emerge as a first-round quarterback. I'm worried he's not going to get that opportunity anymore because of mistakes he made. And I think the NCAA is setting an example out of him. Everyone knows you don't cross the NCAA. The NCAA, when they want to push a narrative and they want to set an example, they are going to do everything in their power to make sure that happens. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. You saw the Trinidad Chambliss situation play out, how they were trying to make an example out of him, wrongfully so, and he won that case. So like I said, sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. This, I feel, is one of those situations where it's going to work out for the NCAA. I think the NCAA is trying to make an example of Brennan Sorsby across all sports saying, we do not tolerate gambling in any capacity. And obviously his is a major example of this. But I think they're trying to set an example to make sure that this doesn't happen, maybe not again, but as frequently. Because you mean to tell me Brennan Sorsby is the only college football player or the only collegiate athlete in general that's doing this? No. And look, he's not doing it anymore. It was an example from about 4 years ago. But still, it's a problem, and it happened, and he did it. And they've got to set an example. So I actually think I side with the NCAA on this one, which is something I can't commonly say, but they're making an example out of him, and I feel bad for the kid because it was a mistake. But at the same time, you broke the rules. Now you have to suffer the consequences.
Well, I'll start off by saying the NCAA isn't worth the paper that I'm writing on back here, first of all. But second of all, here's the thing with the Brennan Sorsby, and I'm coming from a point of view where I loved watching Brennan Sorsby play at Cincinnati, and I was really excited to see him play at Texas Tech this year because, Texas Tech is a team that has decided to go all in with their oil money, with the support of Cody Campbell and others. They felt like they were a missing quarterback away. Defensively, you didn't have to worry about them, but, when it came to, making big plays in crunch time, they couldn't really rely on Baron Morton to do that. So they go out and they get one of the top quarterbacks in the transfer portal. They pay him a lot of money. But here's the thing, and I think it's really, really simple, right? Because it's one thing to be betting on professional sports, balls and strikes. It's a different thing when you're a collegiate athlete and you're at Indiana in 22 and you're betting on your team because this is a multi-billion-dollar business, college football. And there are TV contracts, right? You have your Foxes, your ESPNs, your NBCs, all these different, and now Amazon's getting in the mix with Duke basketball. So this is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and you cannot mess with, you got to preserve the integrity of the game. If you're betting on your own team while you're a member of the team, even if you're not playing, by the letter of the law, you should lose your eligibility. And I hate that. I really do, because I was looking forward to watching Sorsby play this year, but we got to protect the integrity of the game. If you try to make and Sorsby is going to be the poster child, right? Because this is the first really big case. This has happened before. I played with guys who bet on different sports. So it's been happening, but he's going to be the poster child for all this. But if you try to kind of tweak the situation and, well, he didn't really play in Indiana, so should we take away his eligibility? If you do that, you're opening up another Pandora's box, and then it's just going to get so nebulous when it comes to betting that, the NCAA isn't going to be able to enforce anything. They barely can as it is. So I think you call it how you see it, balls and strikes, no pun intended. And I think Sorsby has played his last snap of college football.
I agree, and I think you make a great point, and you have to lay down the law. I don't care if you weren't playing at Indiana. You are rostered. You are on that team, and by that, you are a collegiate athlete. It is strictly prohibited against collegiate athletes to bet on anything with an NCAA sanctioned championship. We talked to Jake about this the other day. Jake can't bet because Jake is associated with Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt is associated with the NCAA. The only thing they can bet on, from my understanding, is horse racing, NASCAR, and UFC. Those are the three. So unless you're really into those three things, it's not even worth it. I, in fact, wouldn't even consider it worth it to even have the apps on your phone. I think it's just a bad thing to have, and it sets you up for failure. So I'm with you, Parker. I think we're done watching Brennan Sorsby, which is a shame because I think he's a really good player, and I was excited to watch him play this year. For context, Texas Tech currently finished with the number 2 transfer class this season, right behind Indiana. They had 21 transfers with an index score of 51, according to On3. So this is still going to be a really good Texas Tech team. I don't have any doubt that they're going to make some noise in the Big 12. It's just a matter of, are they going to have their star quarterback or not? And I'm trending towards the direction of no, they're not going to. Actions have consequences. And as Matthew in Nashville points out on our text line, Paul Feinbaum claims that something like 25% of male collegiate athletes are betting on sports.
Oh, yeah. So it's not a secret, right? It's happening.
No, it's happening. It's no secret that it's happening. But what the NCAA is trying to do here is make an example. of if we catch you, there are going to be severe consequences. Brennan Sorsby happened to be caught, and there are going to be severe consequences for him, I think. So it's a shame. It's unfortunate. I feel bad for the kid, even though I think he's older than me. I still feel bad for him. But actions have consequences. And you got caught red-handed doing something you weren't supposed to do. And by the way, betting by pitch is some seriously hardcore stuff. Like, I don't think I could even handle it. I don't bet in general just because it's not worth it to me. It's because I'll probably be wrong and lose a lot of money, but it's not worth it to me. But betting by pitch, and by betting by pitch, it's like, is it a ball or a strike, is some seriously hardcore stuff. So, I mean, I don't know whether to feel bad for him or kind of respect him for that.
I don't really know because I don't know like his point of view or anything, but it's you play with fire, you're gonna get burnt, right? And that's what gambling and sports betting. If you choose to do so, do it responsibly, right? Because if you do it, if you decide to bet and you decide to gamble as a collegiate athlete, eventually it is going to come to light. And there was a piece in the USA Today that mentioned Cincinnati knew about this. So there are more details to this story that we don't know about yet. And the University of Cincinnati could drop a bomb and say like, hey, we knew about this. He did this. And that could really flip the situation on its head. But I really do think Sorsby's played his last snap.
I would agree with that. 615-737-1025 is the phone number if you want to get involved in the conversation. What are your thoughts on the Brennan Sorsby situation? Have we seen the last of the Texas Tech quarterback? Parker and I tend to agree. Yes, we have. But coming up next, there was an article posted by an account called CFP Central that I found really interesting. And I don't know how credible they are, but I agree with some of the points that they made. It is an article of potential disaster teams for college football. We'll discuss where some of the teams that you know very well fit in that list coming up next, right here on Next Man Up. Connor Newt, Parker Kelly here with you on this Monday on 102.5 The Game. Next man up here on 102.5 The Game, Connor Newt, Parker Kelly here with you on this Monday. I am live here from Hermitage Golf Course for the Hart Golf Classic Tournament, benefiting Stars Nashville, which benefits mental health services for young people. It is a beautiful day for some golf out here. People are out here hitting balls. I can't tell you much more about golf, but that's what's happening out here. It is a beautiful day out here. So, good day for golf. Maybe I'll go try to do it. I don't think I will do it successfully, but maybe I'll try to do something.
Nobody ever does it successfully on their first time. It's okay.
Yeah, well, ask me about my curling story another day.
Story for another time. We got all week.
Yeah, we got all summer. So I want to talk about this. I found a list, and maybe we're getting list season started a little bit too early, especially on the college football front. But here is a list of 15 potential disaster teams for college football. And I'll go ahead and give you the top 5. And number 1, to me, I think is very interesting. At number 5, you got the Utah Utes, which I think is expected with the departure of Kyle Whittingham to Michigan. And, you know, he takes a lot of recruits over to Ann Arbor from Utah. So number 5 is the Utah Utes. Number 4, Matt Rule and the Nebraska Cornhuskers. I think that's another fair one with the departure of Dylan Raiola, and just kind of the expectancy of winning for Nebraska hasn't quite been there under Matt Rule. So they are at number 4. Number 3 is an SEC team, Shane Beamer and the South Carolina Gamecocks. I think this is do or die for Shane Beamer. And if he doesn't at least win 8 games, I would say he probably needs to at least make a playoff push. He is out at South Carolina. So that South Carolina is at number 3. Brent Key and Georgia Tech at number 2, which is an interesting one, but they lose a lot of talent in Haynes King and a lot of their offensive weapons going to the NFL draft in the portal. And number 1, Josh Heupel and the Tennessee Volunteers. That's an interesting one to me because going 8-4 last year, I think preseason was kind of the expectation for the Vols. After the whole Nico Iamaleava situation, you bring in Joey Aguilar. A lot of people were saying, no matter the result, Josh Heupel gets a pass this year. Then Vols fans forget to live in the minute and go after the team after they go 8-4. They were not happy with the finale of the season. Now you come into this year, and it didn't seem you addressed the quarterback situation super well. I know they were after Brennan Sorsby, and maybe it's a better thing that they didn't get Brennan Sorsby after all this stuff has come out. They didn't capitalize on Sam Leavitt. He went over to LSU. So now you're choosing between a freshman, or a redshirt freshman, George McIntyre, or a true freshman in Faison Brandon for your starting quarterback position. I think this could go one of 2 ways. This could be a very successful season for Josh Heupel where they get into the college football playoff and, you know, surprise a lot of people in the SEC. Or this could go poorly. This could be a 6-6 kind of season where you're still playing in a bowl game, but you're playing in, I don't know, the Armed Forces Bowl or something like that. The Gasparilla is a little bit better than that. The Liberty Bowl, something like that. I think this could be one of 2 things for Tennessee. So the fact that they're on this disaster list isn't particularly surprising to me.
What's the name of this list again?
This is called CFP Central's teams that could have disaster lists.
Okay. I don't know how I feel about this. I've never heard of CFP Central.
They're kind of a fan account, but they're somewhat reputable. They got like close to 100,000 subscribers. So I'll give you the rest of the list. At 6, it's Florida State. 7, it's Iowa State. 8, it's Ole Miss, which is interesting. 9 is Tulane. 10 is Texas A&M. 11 is Cincinnati. 12, Missouri. 13, Maryland. 14, Georgia. 15, Minnesota.
Well, here's the thing with Josh Heupel in Tennessee, right? As a competitor, you know, Josh Heupel is never going to say we deserve a pass this year. But just put yourself that was so just out of the blue what happened with Nico Iamaleava. and you have to rush to find a quarterback. Luckily for you, Joey Aguilar kind of fell into your lap, right? You know, because you send Nico to UCLA. Joey Aguilar was supposed to be the starter at UCLA. It's the first official, at the same time, non-official college football trade, and Joey Aguilar comes to Tennessee. Any team in that situation where you lose your quarterback in the spring, we're going to see this with Texas Tech by a different way of doing it. They're probably not going to have Brendan Sorsby this year for a completely different reason.
Yeah.
But when your starting quarterback is yanked from under your feet in the spring, what else are you supposed to do? I think with what Josh Heupel was able to do with Joey Aguilar this year he proved that he's a wizard, with working with quarterbacks. So I don't know who's going to be the starter this year. I have an idea of who it might be, but I don't know how Faison Brandon would look in his first season. I don't know how George McIntyre would look in his first season. I have no way of knowing that. But what I do know is these guys are inexperienced. They haven't really played at the SEC level before, so there is going to be a bit of a transition period. I think the last over-under I saw was 6.5, which I think is fair. But we like to play revisionist history, right?
Yes, we
do. What were the Vols before Josh Heupel got there, right? They were in the wilderness. They were wandering in the wilderness with Jeremy Pruitt, with Butch Jones, with Derek Dooley. Tennessee football was completely irrelevant. Josh Heupel has brought this team back to, at least where people are talking about them. And 2 years ago, I know they got blown out at Ohio State, but they made the college football playoff with a very less than desirable offense. So, Josh Heupel has brought this team back to relevancy. So for him to say that, I don't know. I just don't like all this Josh Heupel hot seat talk. I really don't.
No, I don't think he should be on the hot seat whatsoever, just because, the things that have not gone his way haven't entirely been his fault. This year, I'm not sure there's much more excuses for him than there were last year, just because he had the opportunity to solve the quarterback situation. And maybe he really loves George McIntyre. Maybe he really loves Faison Brandon. But I don't know how I would feel throwing either a redshirt freshman or a true freshman out on the field. I'm not saying Josh Heupel should be on the hot seat whatsoever. I actually think that's the opposite. I think his seat should be pretty cold. But I'm saying, from what I know about the Tennessee fan base, they are striving for more than just a decent bowl game or a playoff appearance where they lose in the first game. They're striving for a deep run. They're striving for a national championship appearance, because that would truly bring Vols football back to relevancy. They haven't had that in close to 30 years. It was when T. Martin and company won in 98, which is what I hear about a lot. It feels like 98. It does not feel like 98 today. It feels more like 82 degrees. But anyways, the Tennessee Vols are striving for more than just a playoff appearance or a decent bowl game. They're striving for greatness. And I think Josh Heupel is probably the coach that's going to be able to get them there. It's just a matter of, is he going to be able to get the program to pony up, to pay more money than they're paying right now, to get the elite talent to Knoxville, to get the team that's capable of making the deep runs, of beating Alabama and Georgia and LSU and all these world beater SEC teams on a yearly basis. Claim your spot at the throne. And judging by the look of this roster this year, I'm not sure this is the kind of team that's capable of doing so. Again, not saying Josh Heupel should be on the hot seat whatsoever. Not saying the Tennessee Vols won't be a decent team this year. But are they that team that's capable of doing some major damage in the SEC, doing some major damage nationally? I don't know.
Here's what I will say. Sorry to cut you off, but they went and they got Jim Knowles, who's one of the best defensive coordinators in the sport. And he's bringing, Penn State players over with him. He's bringing his assistant. So again, easing that learning curve on the defensive side of the ball. You got the best strength coach in college football over from Indiana, who you can't minimize the necessity of having a really great strength coach, because oftentimes the strength coach is with the football team more than the head coach is with the football team during the summer portion, which is when you're building that muscle, you're building that speed, and all of those different things. You went out and you paid him. So Josh Heupel has shown that, it used to be, He's going with what's familiar to him. He's hiring based on, who have I worked with in the past? Okay, who do I know over here? He didn't know Jim Knowles prior to this, but he went
Yeah.
out and got him. He went out and he poached Indiana's strength coach, which I thought was a great hire. So if you look at the kind of the downish, and I'm not going to say completely down because 8-4 is not necessarily bad, but you see this teeter totter of 10 wins, 8 wins, 10 wins, 8 wins, right? The last 4 years. It's been entirely dependent on quarterback play. That first time you went 8-4, you had Joe Milton, who was fine running the offense, but not great. Last year, you had Joey Aguilar, who was really good, but at the same time, it was just a tough situation. Now, you have a guy that you recruited in George McIntyre. You have a 5-star quarterback who some services had him as the number 1 overall quarterback in the class. If Faison ends up being the guy this year and things do not go as well, I think it'll be okay to say, okay, next year. I think that's where this team is building towards 27 rather than 26. Because if Faison is this 5-star quarterback, you feel comfortable riding into the future with him.
That's fine. Yeah, I think they just have to get to a point where they feel like they are a team of destiny. And False fans like to say that every year. This is our year. They're like the Dallas Cowboys. But ultimately, I think this year, I'm not going to say they're a disaster team, but I think they are not quite the team that's capable of doing some major damage in the SEC. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. One final segment this hour. Coming up next, we'll take a look at Parker's favorite sport, hockey, the Stanley Cup playoffs, moving along as we are moving towards the second round and some Game 7 finals last night. Who's the team to beat? Will the team come out of the East, or is it Colorado's Stanley Cup to win? We'll discuss that coming up next, right here on Next Man Up on 102.5 The Game.
involved in the conversation. Coming up next, we'll get back into a sport Parker knows a little bit less about. Again, that's Tennessee Titans football. There are two guys on the defensive end of football for the Titans that I'm curious about. I'm curious of the role that they will play this season. We'll get to the first one coming up next, right here on Next Man Up.
Now, here's your National Game Plan from the National Sports Network.
I'm Connor Newton, your Nashville's local game plan, brought to you by Tennessee Donor Services. One organ donor can save up to 8 lives. Register at DonateLifeTN.com. This Saturday, May 9th, celebrate 50-plus years with the Eagles at First Bank Stadium at Vanderbilt with the long-time free live in concert. Also, this Friday, May 8th to this Saturday, May 9th, head out to Portland for the Middle Tennessee Strawberry Festival. For details, head to theGameNashville.com/events.
Your sports live here. We are the Game Nashville Sports Network.
ElectronicExpress.com. We've got that.
Hey, it's Billy Donegal. Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. If your home needs upgrades, start with Pella Windows and Doors. And Energy Star says you can cut utility bills by about 12% with energy-efficient windows. And Pella delivers that. Their proper sealing and insulation help keep moisture out, preventing rot and costly damage. And installing Pella windows pays off. The 2025 cost versus value report shows homeowners recoup up to 75% at resale. Upgrade smart. Choose Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. Go to PellaNashville.com.
This Mother's Day, think about the woman who always knew where you needed, always showed up for you. Now it's your chance to return the favor. Cards are sweet, flowers are beautiful, and nothing says thank you for everything like a piece of jewelry she'll treasure forever. That's why Genesis Diamonds has created the most meaningful Mother's Day collection ever. Dazzling diamond bracelets, colored gemstone earrings, beautiful pendants. And this year, the selection is even better as we are joined by one of our exclusive designers, Gabriel & Company from New York, will be in our Greenville showroom on Friday and Saturday. See their entire collection of distinctive and affordable gifts, perfect for Mother's Day. And for the ultimate way to show how much she means to you, step inside Genesis' brand new half-price mall, a special collection of exquisite jewelry, all at an incredible 50% off. So this Mother's Day, give her more than a gift, give her a memory she'll wear close to her heart every single day. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills, and Cool Springs.
Running a business means wearing multiple hats. So if you're like me, you probably started out using your personal phone, taking client calls and texts nonstop. As my business grew, I need something smarter. That's when I switched to Flow, the #1 business phone system. Flow works right on your phone or computer. No carrying two phones or a funky landline. Just one easy app you can try for free. Your team can share one number and handle calls and texts together, like a shared inbox. Any teammate can jump into the conversation, so customers get faster responses. And Flow's AI assistant summarizes your calls and responds to customers 24/7, so you never miss a lead or opportunity. All this starts at just $15 a month. That's basically 2 coffees. You can even keep your current business phone number. Find out why 90,000 businesses trust Flow. Money is on the line. Always say hello with Flow. Try Flow for free at Flow.com/sports. That's Flow.com/sports to try Flow free. QUO.com/SPORTS.
Enjoy more ways to save at Kroger, like low prices in every aisle. And you can clip and save more with digital coupons in the Kroger app. Plus, you can earn fuel points to save up to $1 per gallon at the pump. So it's always easy to save big. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Savings may vary by state. More restrictions apply. See site for details.
During our Latin Flavors event, Kroger brand 80% lean ground beef and 3-pound rolls are only $5.99 a pound with your card. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
Spring is here, and as the weather heats up, the sports action heats up at Circus Sports Kentucky. From baseball to basketball, hockey to golf, Circus Sports has it all. Circus Sports isn't just sports betting. It's sports betting the way it should be. High limits, player-friendly pricing, and enhanced in-game options. Whether you're looking for playoff futures or props on your favorite players and more, Circus Sports has you covered. And don't forget to visit Kentucky's largest sportsbook, Circus Sportsbook, located at the Mid-Kentucky Downs. Download the Circus Sports Kentucky app or visit circusports.com today. Must be 18 or older, located in Kentucky. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Live on the Game Nashville Sports Network.
This is Brandon Bixby.
Over the weekend, it was reported that Kansas City Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes is currently on track to participate in the team's first OTAs. Mahomes suffered a torn ACL in the team's Week 15 loss to the Los Angeles Chargers back in December. The Chiefs will be looking to bounce back after missing the playoffs in 2025 for the first time since 2014. Also over the weekend, the Kentucky Derby took place on Saturday, with Golden Tempo being crowned the winner, going from last place to first and topping 18 other horses in the process. It also makes for a historic victory as trainer Sherry DeVoe becomes the first ever woman to win the Derby, the second ever female trainer to win any Triple Crown race. And in the MLB, the New York Yankees have optioned shortstop Anthony Volpe into the organization's AAA affiliate. Volpe has been rehabbing from surgery for a torn labrum over the offseason and was reinstated from the 10-day injured list. The 25-year-old was a Gold Glove winner in 2023 and has spent all 3 career seasons in the majors with the Yankees. Volpe's managed a 250 batting average with 1 home run and 6 RBIs across 13 games in minors this season, with 9 of those being played in Double-A.
For more, log on to theGameNashville.com. Your sports live here on the Game Nashville Sports Network. Live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios. WPRT-FM Grove, WBUZ HD2 Laverne. Nashville is here. We are the Game Nashville Sports Network on ESPN 1025. The Game.
A Bravo media station.
New voice.
If Jared's going to go to Vanderbilt, maybe I'm going to go to Vanderbilt too.
Big energy.
Hey, look, Maria, Taylor's house here.
Bold opinions.
I think he can play quarterback better than Tim Tebow.
This is Next Man Up with Jake Lyman.
They had to wrap him around to get to Cam Ward.
Your sports live here.
Outrage!
On 1025 The Game and the Game Nashville Sports Network.
Final hour here on this Monday. Next man up here on 1025 The Game. Jake Lyman out on his honeymoon. So Connor New, Parker Kelly in with you today. I will be in all week long, except for Friday. Nick Frazier will have you covered there. But our schedule will remain as normal. Tomorrow, Nick Frazier in with me. Wednesday, Corey Curtis, and of course, Thursday is TD Thursday with Ron Davenport. I am out here today at Hermitage Golf Course. We are with the Heart Golf Classic benefiting Stars Nashville, which of course benefits Vital Mental Health Services. Very great cause out here. Very beautiful day for some golf. If my eyes and ears do not deceive me, I believe Rob is in for a taking consent golf contest. So we'll.
Would it really shock you?
No, not really. But we will keep tabs on how he's doing. If he comes back in here saying some words that are not fit for air, I think we'll have a general idea of how he is. But I'm looking outside. There's a putting contest going on right now. I have to get involved with it. I can putt. I can't, slam the ball as hard as Scotty Scheffler can. Putt into the hole. I have experience with mini golf, so I know what I'm doing there. I think I'd be just fine.
We need to get you out on the driving range. We need to see how it looks. We need to get you some practice.
I need to practice before our 615 Open happens because I want to play in that just to see. I'm assembling a team of non-athletic people, so Republican B, Chase, Adam Lincoln. I wouldn't put you on there. I think you're too athletic for us. Maybe I'd put Big Joe on there just for particularly fatty. But
I think they allow 4 in a group. So yeah, you do need to practice though, because you can't look like a fool at the 615 Open.
No, I can't. It's a celebrity golf.
Right. It's too big of an event.
Yeah. Well, I am the headline of that, so I need to get my strength up. But back on to the Titans. There are 2 defensive pieces that I have some questions about heading into the season on their roles and how they fit into the general scheme of Robert Saleh. First, of course, being Femi Oladipo. So we'll spend this segment talking about Femi Oladipo, and next we'll talk about him. But Femi Oladipo is one that I'm concerned with. He's got votes of confidence from both Robert Saleh and from Mike Portnoy. So it's clear that he's going to have some sort of role in this team and on this defense. But this edge rush group, especially for the Titans, is somewhat deep. I wouldn't say elite deep, but you have a lot of guys that can produce. So my question is, what kind of a role do you want your former second round pick in? If he doesn't take a leap this year, I think we can start to have the bust conversation. Because you don't draft a player in the second round for him not to have an impact in 2 years of playing for you. I semi-understand if he doesn't produce the way that he was expected to last year this year, just because of how deep this group somewhat is. But at the same time, I need to see results from Femi Oladipo. Through every draft pick that Mike Borgazzi has made in those 2 drafts, Femi Oladipo is the one I'm most skeptical of. Just because I felt like he was a project player coming out of UCLA, a guy that's not used to that edge rusher position as he was that inside linebacker position. He was flipped in college, obviously. Started playing in his senior season at UCLA. So I'm curious to see the role of Femi Oladipo. I'm not saying he needs to go out there and have 10.5 sacks, but you need to see something. He didn't play a lot last year. He was battling injuries. So staying healthy, of course, is the number one key to things. But I need to see him make an impact immediately. I need to see him go out and make a key play. I don't care if it's getting to the quarterback. I don't care if it's stuffing the run. I don't care if it's pressuring the quarterback. I just need to hear his name called on the broadcast, because that wasn't something that happened last year. There's only one position that you don't need to hear called on the broadcast and know they're doing a good job. That's the offensive line. And the offensive line is separate situation. I have a feeling we're going to hear some names called for the offensive line over the broadcast this season. But Femi Oladipo is a guy whose name I want to hear. I want to see this kid succeed. I want to see him start to take the next steps. And just based on what I think this defense is capable of and the amount of guys that they have on that defense that I feel really good about making results happen, Femi Oladipo is near the lower end of that. Not that I don't have faith in him. I just have questions on what he's capable of doing and what kind of result he's willing to put out on the team. So Femi Oladipo is certainly someone I have some questions about.
And I'd say you're right for thinking that way, because when he was at UCLA, he made the transition from true inside backer to edge rusher about midway through his senior season. So there is a little bit of grace involved with this too, because when he got here to Nashville last year and he was working with Denard Wilson didn't really have much of a plan for Femi. They drafted him because they liked the traits that he brought to the table, but as far as their plan for him was concerned, it's let's throw spaghetti against the wall and see what sticks, right? They had him rushing the passer. They had him, in a stand-up two. They had him, dropping back into coverage, all these different things, but they didn't really teach him how to play the position because his experience at edge rusher is half of the season in college. And we know making the jump from UCLA to NFL is a huge transition. So for Robert Saleh, yeah, it's great that he sees a role in his mind for Femi on this defensive line. And I like how he said, we're going to have him put his hand in the ground. We're going to have him, play true defensive end. So Robert Saleh has a plan for Femi Oladipo, whereas Denard Wilson didn't. So that should give Titans fans confidence when it comes to Femi Oladipo, because you are right. When you're a second-round pick, that comes with expectation. Not as much expectation as a first-round pick, obviously, but we're giving you grace, but also, too, we need to see what you can do at this position. But Saleh should be able to get that out of him.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to note the edge rusher room in general. You have John Franklin Myers, who I think is going to play more of that defensive tackle role. I think they're going to probably play him inside, but you just drafted an edge rusher, Keldrick Fulton. You also got Jalen Harrell. You have Jermaine Johnson, who you traded for. You have, of course, Femi Oladipo, Jacob Martin, who you signed for the agency. You have a lot of guys in that group, and a lot of them you're expecting some big stuff out of. You expect Keldrick Fulton to produce in his rookie year. Jalen Harrell is kind of the silent killer, but he always somehow seems to come out with some sort of decent result. You want Jermaine Johnson to have a good year because he's in a proven year himself. He's on that fifth year. He's looking for a new contract. So he doesn't produce. He's not going to get re-signed to a big deal. So Oladipo's in a unique situation where he's a second-year guy, and he's going to be tied to this franchise for a little bit while longer. But you still need to see that next step. You need to see results. Last year for him, I felt was sort of a disappointing year. He played like 7 games. Even then, he wasn't super effective in the games that he played. So you need.
But he was also hurt too, which throws a major crowbar in the bicycle spokes to your rookie year. That sucks. That really does.
I mean, it's true. Injury is a thing that happens. But what is it that a very famous coach once said? Injuries happen 100% of the time. Every single player that plays in the NFL is going to be hurt. It's a matter of how they bounce back from said injury. So for Femi Oladejo, I think this is the year. I think this is when you need to start to see at least some sort of progression. Again, not saying he needs to go out and have 13.5 sacks this year. Probably not. Probably not. Probably not going to happen.
Was that the coach you were referring to?
Yes,
Mike?
Yeah, I heard he had a fun time on a yacht yesterday.
Oh.
John Cruises in the Boston Celtics.
I didn't hear that.
Just based on what inside the NBA. But anyways, for Femi Oladejo, it's time. We need to start seeing some progression. We need to start seeing some impact plays. If he doesn't deliver on that, we may be trending into the bust conversation, which, quite frankly, I don't really want to tread into just because I feel. But we need to start seeing. 615-737-1025 is the phone number if you want to get involved in the conversation. There's another guy on the defensive side of the ball that I have some questions about on his role for this team. We'll discuss him coming up next, right here on Next Man Up. Connor New, Parker Kelly here with you on 102.5 Beat.
I hit the break. I hit it twice. It didn't play.
For years, I've served national in the Howard District Attorney's Office, where I led the crimes against children and the domestic violence division, and helped prosecute some of our community's most serious violent crimes, including the lawful consummation case. As a husband and a father, ensuring justice, fairness, and safety in our community is personal. Again, my name is Ronald Downey, and I'm asking for your loan donation, paid for by Downey for George, John D. Treasurer. It's done inside your home because your garage door will open. All 4 seasons of garage doors protect you from sales for fast, reliable service. Call us today and avoid being a prisoner in your home.
Green Ventures Landscaping knows if you manage multiple properties, you need a landscaping partner you don't have to manage. Reliable crews, clear communication, elevated results. If you manage it, we maintain it. Green Ventures Landscaping. Design, build, maintain. GreenVenturesLandscaping.com.
I'm Emmett Smith. Pro football and fatherhood have taught me you need the right equipment for what life throws your way, including an opioid emergency. I've lost teammates and loved ones to opioid poisoning. It's the leading cause of accidental death in the U.S. But now I have the power to save life. So do you. Lay, spray, stay. 3 words to help save someone in need. Lay the person on their back. Use Narcan nasal spray as directed to reverse the effects of an opioid emergency. Dial 911 and stay with them until emergency help arrives. Continue to administer additional doses as needed. An opioid poisoning can happen to anyone, anywhere, anytime. So learn the signs and symptoms of an opioid emergency and always be ready to rescue. Learn more at readytorescue.com.
This message brought to you by the Game Nashville and Cromwell Media.
Long day at the office? I don't know about you, but sometimes
I just need something to look forward to. Guess what? At 12 Stones Golf Club, the real game starts after 3. That's right. Monday through Thursday is the Twilight Special. Just $52 for all the golf you can play. Think about it, guys. You're in your office right now. You're only a few hours away from all the swings you can handle before the sun goes down. It's the perfect way to turn a long workday into a win. Book your tee time now at 12stonesgolfclub.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you, it finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of pay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. the needle in the haystack.
Statewide, 4 out of 5 employers who post a job in ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
ZipRecruiter.
Take the Game Nashville Sports Network with you wherever you go.
You need to see him improve and carry some people along with him.
Just search for the Game Nashville in your app store and listen to all 3 stations. 102.5 The Game.
That coaching staff should be commended.
I will tend to believe that they will try to keep them. Apathy destroys a franchise.
94.9 The Fan.
This next one needs to be out of this community. When you get all that money, the expectations go from here, and they're accelerated.
And Sports Talk 8:30 a.m.
The presentation of Joe Namath is that he was New York, controversial, guaranteed a victory, and that's what changed the NFL.
are all in one place. Your sports live here on the Game Nashville app.
Next man up here on 102.5 The Game, Connor New Parker Kelly here with you on this Monday. I am live from Hermitage Golf Course here with Stars for the Hard Golf Classic. Lots of golf happening out here. Beautiful day for it as well. Parker, of course, back at the station on the 1-2s. We're discussing Titans defensive pieces. What are their roles for the team heading into the season? I brought up Emil Dejo and the curiosity I have with his role. The other guy I'm interested in comes from the inside linebacker position, and that's Cody Martin. Obviously, your 2 main inside linebackers are going to be Cedric Gray and Anthony Hill. And I think Cody Martin brings some value. I think he brings veteran leadership. I think he brings experience to that position, in where the other 2 are young, and obviously one of them is a rookie. But at the same time, you're in a room with James Williams, who always seems to make some good special teams plays, and he makes some plays when he's on the field as well. Mohamed Diabate, not the Kentucky Mohamed Diabate, who transferred to LSU basketball, but the other one from who you got from the Browns. And you're obviously competing with Cedric Gray and Anthony Hill. So I'm curious of the role of Cody Martin. Quite honestly, if Anthony Hill and Cedric Gray appear to work well together in training camp on the field, because that's going to be your 1A and 1B. And honestly, I think Anthony Hill is potentially going to wear the green for the Titans. If those 2 work well together on the field, I honestly think that Cody Martin could be moved off this game. They could cut him. They could try and get some value from him in trading him. But honestly, other than the veteran presence, from a skill perspective, I would take Anthony Hill over Cody Martin. So I'm curious of what the Titans view him as. What do they believe that his role is going to be? Is it going to be a mentorship program for Anthony Hill as they kind of move in that direction for him? He's going to play a lot of snaps this year, Anthony Hill. He's a rookie at that position, especially at the value you drafted him at, you expect him to play. So I'm curious of the role of Cody Martin. Is he going to be a mentor? Is he going to be a veteran presence to have in the locker room? Is he going to be moved off of throughout the camp? I'm just weird of kind of the role that I think Cody Martin is going to play.
Yeah, make no bones about it. Anthony Hill is going to be your green dot linebacker probably from right away. If I had to speculate, that is why Saleh and Morganzi traded up to get him in the second round when they didn't have a second round pick, because they showed that trading back in the first round to draft Keldrick Falk, they weren't just going to sit on their hands and wait for a guy that they really wanted to be drafted by somebody else. And Anthony Hill certainly had first round talent. In my opinion, he's probably a top 3 to 5 linebacker in this draft. He fits everything that Saleh wants in a middle inside backer, green dot guy. So I think the role of Cody Martin is going to be an interesting one. It certainly provides depth because you have Anthony Hill. You had Cedric Gray, who was top 5 in tackles across the entire league last year. So there's certainly going to be a role for him as well. James Williams, I think, is going to have a pretty significant role as well. We were talking about a converted safety. He played safety at Miami and now is playing linebacker at the NFL. Saleh is going to work with that. So there's certainly going to be a role for Cody Barton. Sure, providing some mentorship. He's a really smart guy. He was one of the quarterbacks of that defense last year. So there will be plenty to contribute for Cody Barton, but I think he's going to move more into a LB3, LB4 spot and provide some depth.
Here is a bit of a comparison between Cody Barton and Anthony Hill. Yes, I understand one's playing at the NFL level and one's playing at the collegiate level. Cody Barton last season, 81 total tackles, 37 solo, 44 assists, 1 sack, and 3 interceptions. That was through 17 games. Yeah, he played in all games. Anthony Hill last year, 36 solo tackles. Oh, that's just the solo. But regardless, he had 36 solo tackles by himself, 4 sacks, and 2 interceptions. Again, I know different levels. The NFL is a little bit harder than the college level. But do you not feel that you can get similar production out of a young rookie in Anthony Hill who's proven he can be a plug-and-play guy than Cody Barton? I feel like the only reason I would keep Cody Barton around is if you really feel he can be a mentor to Anthony Hill. Like we mentioned earlier, I think this is an inside linebacker that you can get some decent production out of with James Williams, with Cedric Gray, with Anthony Hill. But I just don't understand, and maybe it'll reveal itself to us when we get to training camp. But as of right now, I don't see as much point keeping Cody Barton around, given his salary cap space, given the production that I think you can get out of him. I'm not sure if I would keep him around.
Well, if you're going to keep 4 inside backers, your 4 are pretty clear, and there won't be a whole lot of battling for that inside linebacker spot, right? Because you have Anthony Hill, Cedric Gray, James Williams, Cody Barton. That would make sense in my mind for them to carry 4 inside backers too. And James Williams is going to be very he'll contribute a lot on special teams. So that'll make sense, I feel like, for them to have. But you look at Cody Barton, and this is no slight on him, but when Robert Saleh talks about being fast and violent on defense, Cody Barton doesn't necessarily fit that. Anthony Hill does, because Anthony Hill made a living at Texas, being able to get after the passer, right? He's very good at blitzing. I don't know how much of a role he'll have blitz-wise here in Nashville. I'm sure they'll use that a little bit because it's just an extra tool in the tool belt, but Cody Barton doesn't necessarily fit that mold. But the things that he'll be able to contribute to these younger guys off the field, I think are going to be very valuable. So I do see the point of keeping him on.
Yeah, I'm just looking at this from an outsider perspective that I feel like Anthony Hill and Cedric Gray, who are going to be your 2 starters, if you were to ask me, I feel like they complement each other. You saw Cedric Gray last season and the way he was able to make tackles. He was among the leaders in tackles in the entire NFL. He had a really good season. He contributes on special teams. I think Anthony Hill is really capable of doing that too. But they also know how to play across the middle. As an inside linebacker in the NFL, you're going to have to play across the middle and potentially jump routes or stop the run or stop the slot receiver from coming in the middle. I think the 2 of them do a really good job of that because of the fast and the violent nature that they provide. And they fit that Robert Saleh scheme. To your point, you mentioned that Cody Barton doesn't necessarily fit that. If he doesn't necessarily fit that, then why do you feel the need to keep him around? Again, I'm not saying he needs to be cut immediately because I think he provides some value. But if I were in charge, I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to getting rid of him. Just because I think you can save some money there. I think you have better options in your room at younger ages. I'm curious of the role of Cody Barton. We'll find out as things play out. Again, we got a long time before the Titans hit the field for the first time and it actually counts. But I'm curious of the role of Cody Barton. And I'm curious of you all's thoughts on that as well. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Coming up next, I want to get into a small conversation about safety blankets. Who should provide Cam Ward with more of a safety blanket? Gunnar Helm or Wandale Robinson? We'll talk about that coming up next. Connor New, Parker Kelly here with you on this Monday on Next Man Up on 102.5 The Game.
Don't forget about the Commodore Hour every Monday night at 6 p.m. Anchor down and go doors. Now, here's your latest Fox 17 Code Red weather report.
Fox 17 meteorologist Greg Focus, a forecast starting us off in the 40s and 50s, on our way to the 70s by lunchtime and a high of 82 degrees. A little wind around today, going up to 25 miles per hour. Overall, I'm not thinking I'll be back.
Your sports live here on the Game Nashville Sports Network.
Hey guys, Big Joe here. I'll tell you what, head over all over the South for making the trip to Lebanon with Dr. Maggie Hinkley and the caring and wonderful staff to make the veterinary practice. Dr. Hinkley is wonderful dog staff. He's also an exotic vet. What? That's right, an exotic vet. No more visiting on the free things for exotic vet dogs and you know, looking to stay in the month for small mammals, other exotic vet. Dr. Hinkley specialized care and looks for live feed. Check it out, AleVet.com. That's AleVet.com.
Sharon Davenport, the Blair Durham, my dad started from 1975, and was a legend in many ways. You know, he was the local celeb, probably very much recognized for place. But the most important thing that he has taught me is that the day that you stop caring is the day you get out of this business.
Yeah, no, it shows, and I'll give you an example of it in the way you never pushed me to do it. And I thought that was really good. It was all like, hey, if you're comfortable with this, if you want to do that, that's what we'll do.
Visit partnerdurham.com.
Hey guys, Big Joe. You've probably heard me talk about it before. I have low valley depression and anxiety. It's not easy to talk about. So talking to a mental health professional changed my life. Therapy gave me a safe place to work through things, to breathe again. And I want that for you as well. Mental health treatment is also. Going through a tough time, please don't push it down or try to do it alone.
Just talking to someone, being heard, can be the start of real healing. You don't have to carry it all by yourself.
Unity Psychiatric Care has caring professionals in Columbia and Clarksville. You can see them in person or talk to them by telehealth. You start with a phone call. Go to the website and click on Unity Psychiatric Care link to make an appointment. That's UnityPsych.com/Big Joe. Or just call 888-508-8002. That's 888-508-8002. One call and change it all.
Nashville is now home to an award-winning full-service spa, Mocara, located in the beautiful Omni Nashville Hotel. Features a wide range of signature services, including massage therapy, body and facial treatments, and yoga. This Mother's Day, treat your mother to a relaxing day at Mocara Spa. She deserves it. Purchasing your
Next man up here on 102.5 The Game. Connor Newt, Parker Kelly here with you on this Monday. Jake Lyman off celebrating his honeymoon, so he will be out all week. I will be in with you for most of the week until Friday. Nick Frazier and Parker Kelly will have you covered. But as I mentioned, our schedule will stay the same. Tomorrow, Nick Frazier in with me. Wednesday, Corey Curtis from News 2. And, of course, Thursday is TD Thursday with Teron Davenport. But, Parker, we've talked a lot about the offense today for the Titans. And whether they can provide Cam Ward with the tools to develop that he needs. And I think it begins with some of the safety blanket features he needs. A young quarterback needs a reliable guy. Actually, any quarterback in this league needs a go-to guy, someone to rely on. For Patrick Mahomes, it's Travis Kelce. For Lamar Jackson, it is Mark Andrews, or it's his legs. But what I'm trying to say is Cam Ward needs a safety blanket. And I think ultimately it comes down to two guys to be that. And I think Carnell Tate factors into this as well because he needs to be wide receiver one. But if Carnell Tate is covered, if Calvin Ridley is covered, and you're looking for some short yardage, it needs to be one of two guys. It needs to be Wan'Dale Robinson inside the slot, or it needs to be Gunnar Helm at that tight end position. Which one would you feel better about being more productive in that safety blanket role, we'll call it?
Well, I certainly think Wan'Dale Robinson. I agree with TD. I do think he's going to be the go-to guy this year. If I had to pick one, I'd probably say Wan'Dale, but I've always just been fascinated by the fact that you draft Cam Ward and Gunnar Helm at the same time, because what was Gunnar Helm's role at Texas with Quinn Ewers? It was to be that safety blanket for him, right? Because Gunnar Helm is not going to blow you away with his speed. He's not going to blow you away, when he's asked to stay in line with the offensive line and block, but he's kind of really good at everything. He's not elite in certain aspects, but he's really good at everything. So I think he can serve a similar role for Cam Ward now with the Tennessee Titans to be that safety blanket. And the fact that they were brought into Nashville, drafted by the Titans at the same time, it allows them to grow together. I can't just dismiss that, but if I had to pick one, I think Wan'Dale Robinson is probably going to be the go-to guy for Cam Ward this year.
I would go Gunnar Helm, and it's because of the point that you just made. They were drafted together, and they're kind of developing together. And I've always gone under the assumption and the ideal that a good quarterback needs a good tight end to bail him out of certain situations. So what better way to do that than draft a rookie quarterback and a rookie tight end in the same draft? And I think you saw some things from Gunnar Helm last season that prove he's capable of being in that tight end one spot. And barring any magnificent changes where they go out and sign like David Njoku or something, Gunnar Helm's going to be in that position. So I feel that Gunnar Helm is going to be a nice little safety blanket for Cam Ward this season because of what you just mentioned. He's not particularly elite at anything. He's not an elite blocker. He's not an elite route runner. He's not a speed artist. He's not, just a specimen of a man, but he just does his job. He's just a good football player. And similar to his college tape, I think you saw some of that last year with the Titans, and that he's always capable of making good plays, good move the chains plays. And some of those turn into impact plays. So I'm going to say I think Gunnar Helm needs to be more of a safety blanket than Wan'Dale Robinson, but that's not to say Wan'Dale Robinson doesn't need to be available either. You go out and pay a receiver the way that you paid him for that long-term contract, and a guy that can help develop Cam Ward, a guy that understands the Brian Daboll system of offense, he's going to need to be readily available too. So it kind of goes back to the point we made earlier in the show, in that pretty much all pass catchers. There we go.
There we go. We got it out.
Words were starting to word, and then we had that one. So pass catchers, catch passers. Pretty much all pass catchers need to be consistent. They need to be capable of making the big impact plays and even the small move the chains plays, because every single thing that they do either helps grow or stunts the development of your young quarterback, as Mike Borgonzi says. So to help a young quarterback, you need a young safety blanket. And I think that could be Gunnar Helm. That too.
That also helps.
Yes.
No, I think both of them. I don't want to dismiss either, as saying one is more important than the other, because the truth is, when you're trying to help this quarterback take, the leap from year one to year two, it's all hands on deck, right? It's Calvin Ridley, it's Carnell Tate, it's Alec Eomanor, it's Chim Dike. All of them got to play their roles in the offense, and I think when there was so much pressure on Alec Eomanor and Chim Dike to perform on offense last year as fourth-round picks, that's not in a spot you want to be. So bringing in Wan'Dale Robinson, right, assuming that Calvin Ridley is going to be healthy this year, I still think there's a little bit left for Calvin Ridley, barring that he does not drop the football, because there's still a lot that he can contribute. I mean, Chim and Alec both talked about it ad nauseum last year in training camp how they would watch Calvin Ridley and his get-offs and the way that he would run routes, and they would ask him questions, and they modeled a lot of what they did, their releases off the line of scrimmage, after what Calvin Ridley did. So there's still an impact there, even if he's not, going for 1,200 yards or something crazy like that. But
yeah,
there are more pass catchers this year. There are more guys being asked to take bigger roles this year. So you definitely feel a lot better about the pass catchers that you have this year versus where you were last year.
Yeah, I think that this might be the last ride for Calvin Ridley and the Tennessee Titans, just because I think, especially if Carnell Tate delivers the way that you hope he delivers, there might not be a need for him. And, you get rid of a big contract and a guy that will probably go off and try to chase a ring at this point in his career. I mean, he's almost 30, so we'll see how it goes. But I think overall, to kind of wrap up this conversation on the offensive side of the ball, there needs to be a lot of consistency. And I keep repeating myself, but it's true. You need to see guys do the roles that they're picked to play. Like, for instance, Calvin Ridley is going to be your veteran presence and your route runner. Carnell Tate is going to be your rookie project, but you hope that he is not as much of a project given you drafted him at number 4. Chim DK isn't going to be as I don't want to say effective, but I don't think you're going to have to put him in situations you put him in last year simply because you have a little bit more depth in that wide receiver room. But he still needs to be effective. That's your big play guy. That's the kind of guy that if you send him downfield and throw it to him, he's probably going to come up with it, similar to Carnell Tate. Alec Iomanner and Wan'Dale Robinson are your slot guys, your guys that you plug in the middle, your guys that make maybe not the big, but the move the chains plays, the guys that get the ball down the field. And then we already mentioned Gunnar Helm, who is not particularly elite at anything, but he is good at everything. So overall, I think, there are positions on this offensive side of the ball that I feel really good about. There are positions that I feel not great about, i.e. the offensive line and the running back room. But overall, there should be some improvement this season. I think you set the line at 7 wins. I think that's a fair expectation. I would go 6 to 7 wins. That's probably what I would do here. I don't think they're going to make a playoff push. I think they can compete for the AFC South. I don't think they're going to win it because I think Houston just has a better team. But the AFC South is a winnable division for any team. I think the Colts are not going to be great. I think the Jags are going to take a step back, and I think the Titans are going to take a step forward. But overall, I think that puts them all in a similar situation. I think ultimately the message of this season, we need improvement on all sides of the ball. You need improvement from the quarterback play. You need improvement from the offense in general. You definitely need improvement from the defense, which I think you're going to get with Robert Saleh and Gus Bradley at the helm. Overall, I expect improvement. Anything less than 6 to 7 wins, I would think is a disappointment. Because this team is building towards momentum. You're building towards opening a new stadium. You're building towards a new era of young players in Tennessee Titans blue. You need momentum, and I think that starts this season.
I think what this roster does, it isn't going to guarantee that you're going to make the playoff, because the way the last couple of years have gone, I don't think many people are ready to say that, hey, this is a playoff contender, right? Even with an up in the air AFC South. But I think what you did by constructing this roster is you bring in a lot of free agents, specifically on the defensive side of the ball. And Jake pointed this out. There's a get out clean, after 2 years of the contract with a lot of these 4-year deals that you're seeing. So I think what this roster has done, it hasn't necessarily, guaranteed 9 wins, 10 wins, playoff spot, AFC South champs. No, I think it's raised the floor of this team, but the ceiling is to be determined.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. 615-737-1025. Robert on our text line said, Chim turned down Tate's money offer for the jersey number 17. I don't think he sees himself as a role player. He wants to be more, and I think he can be more. I agree with that. I don't agree with that's why he turned the money offer down. In the NFL, when you're wearing a number and you like that number, you keep that number. And, Carnell Tate wanted 17. I actually think he really fits 14. He looks really good in it. But, Yeah, to your point, Robert, I think you're right. I think he wants to be an impact player, and I think he's proven himself as an impact player. I mean, he was an all-pro punt returner last year, his rookie season. So maybe he wants to be more than that. And I think he's capable of doing that if he's sprinkled in. But he's not going to be, if you have 3 wide receivers on the field for the first play of the game, it's going to be Carnell Tate, Calvin Ridley, and Wan'Dale Robinson. And then Chimdike and Alec Manor can start migrating their way into that. And maybe Bryce Oliver, too, if they're keeping 6. I think they would keep 6. Notice I left out everyone's favorite Xavier Restrepo because he's not making the team this year, I promise you. I don't think he's going to make the team. So
too crowded of a wide receiver room. I think you're guaranteed to keep 6. Some years it's 7. Like I think we saw 3 years ago, the Titans did keep 7 on the final 53. But I think the 6 is pretty much solidified, right? Wan'Dale Robinson, Carnell Tate, Calvin Ridley, Alec Manor, Chimdike, and Bryce Oliver.
Yeah, I would agree with that. You're going to keep 6, and it's too deep of a wide receiver room. Again, not an elite receiver room, but the word I've been using is respectable. Respectable receiver room, respectable depth on that end. So you're going to keep 6 there. And I would imagine it's probably the 6 you just listed. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. One final segment for myself and Parker here on this Monday. I need some advice from you. I need some advice from you, Parker, and I need some advice from you, the people listening to us here on 1025 The Game. I'm going to a concert on Wednesday, and I wanted to ask Parker this while it's just us two because things are going to get hectic here tomorrow when we have Frazier, and then even more hectic because God knows what Bigfoot ideologies Corey Curtis is going to have me talking about. But I wanted to ask Parker this question because I know he just went to a concert. When you're going to a concert, do you pregame in the car by listening to said artist's music, or do you listen to something completely different and then you get the music live when you're at the concert? We'll discuss that coming up next in the most summer topic of all time, right here on Next Man Up on 1025 The Game. Great song. I've been blasting this one lately. Love me some Morgan Wallen. And Ella Langley, too. She's great.
She just keeps making hits, man.
I mean, she can't miss. He can't miss either. Neither of them can miss. We'll go back in. Final segment here on this Monday. Next man up here on 102.5 The Game. Connor Newt, Parker Kelly here with you. I am live out here at the Hermitage Golf Course for the Hart Golf Classic with Stars, which they do a great job in their mission of providing the help that kids need who are struggling with mental health situations. And I can confirm, as someone who's struggled with that throughout my life, it's not fun. So go out, get the help you need. As Big Joe says, find your inner peace. But you played some music coming back, and this topic is going to be about music because I think it's the perfect way to wrap up a show with you and me. I'm going to a concert on Wednesday, a bucket list concert for me, actually. It's Bruno Mars. I've listened to him since I was like 6 years old. One of my favorites of all time. So bucket list stuff for me coming up next. I'm curious because I've never found a clear answer on this. When you're going to a concert and you know who it is, do you listen to their music, like their studio recorded albums, in the car on the way there and pregame that way? Is that what you do? Did you do this with Luke Combs?
I did. I didn't listen to because Knoxville's a 2.5 hour drive from where I'm at. So we didn't listen to Luke Combs the entire time, but we did get a fair, I'd say probably about an hour at least. So, not too overkill, but yes, that is usually the move.
Okay. Because I can never get a clear answer. Some people say, no, you're going to ruin the concert for yourself. And other people say, yes, it's going to get you in the mood. Some of you have some opinions on this as well. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. 6574 says, yes, pregame with music by the artist, and definitely check out the openers too. That's Bo and Whites Creek. I always check out the openers because it's like an appetizer. It gets you excited for it. And, I think it's out of respect for the artists because, you're there for the main event, but you always check out the openers too. So I'm with you, Bo. I always check out the openers. Skylar says, Connor, you pregame by chugging beers in the parking garage before going inside. I'm not going to do that.
That's where I thought you were going with this, and I was a little nervous because I can't offer good advice there.
No, I'm not going to do that. I really don't drink that much. Like I had some at the wedding the other day just because it's a wedding and you celebrate, but I really don't unless it's like a really special occasion, I really don't. It's not for me, but to each their own, I guess. I probably won't have a drink at this concert because I will be locked in on the music. That's what I do.
Big Bruno Mars guy. You know what? I should have played Bruno Mars coming back. That's on me, Middle Tennessee.
You can save it for tomorrow.
I will be better. When is this concert? Is it this weekend?
It is Wednesday, which I'm a little worried because we got a little rain in the forecast that day, but it's an arena show, which I don't know. I'm worried about it.
Yeah. It's at Bridgestone, right?
No, it's at Nissan.
Oh, it is at Nissan. Yeah. That'll be fun. That'll be fun. Good way to kick off the summer.
It's a great way to. I mean, I told you this is a monumental week for young Connor Newt here. I mean, today, obviously, all week I'm hosting with you and our guests, but today I got to go pick up my grandfather from the airport. Tomorrow I got something. I got to do something legal wise. Wednesday I got the concert. Thursday I'm back here with you guys with TD, which is a big day. And then Friday through this weekend is all graduation stuff for me. This is the last ride. I'm no longer the college student that works here, which means you guys can't call me a kid anymore.
No, we could still call you a kid, but
yeah, well, I'll be 22 next week. So
that a boy. You're moving up in the world. How about it?
I am moving up. Yeah. I don't know. It's an exciting time for me. I'm just really excited. Like I'm stressed and I'm anxious because, it's weird. I'm sure you can attest to this. It's like, wow, I've had school for 16 years straight. Now I don't have it. So
it's a very free feeling, Connor. Very free feeling.
It's very free. Like today I might pick myself up something for lunch and just go lay out. It's a nice day. I don't know. I'm trying to debate. Do I want to go get some shots of the golf course, not the basketball course?
Can't keep saying that.
Yeah,
it's confusing me. It's throwing me off.
What's the term? Where's Christian when I need him?
Just go hit some balls, man.
Yeah.
Immunity.
Well, there's a putting contest going out.
There we go.
I could do that.
When we were out at 5 Iron, the golf simulator they had there, I was going crazy on the simulator. It was fun.
See, I was just doing the putts, like in between breaks. Like Adam and I were just doing the putts. It was fun. We had a fun time. And Mark Vorvietsky showed up too, who used to play for the Predators.
I bet he's a big golf guy. Is he?
I'm sure.
I feel like baseball players, hockey players, all love a little golf in their free time.
Yeah, I think football players like some golf too.
Yep, coaches. That's what coaches do when they're not recruiting or game planning.
Yeah, it is.
Or all the other million tasks they're asked to do nowadays.
Yeah, well, college coaches, yeah. Well, the NFL coaches will have a good 9-week break to just go golfing, so they'll enjoy it. Nevada Josh says, damn, Bruno, I'm jelly. That is my bucket list, too. Someone like him with that many songs, yes, definitely listen on the way. I heard he's way better live, too, so it won't ruin it. That is the general narrative I'm putting together is he is way better live than he is on studio recording, which is why I'm really excited and why it's a bucket list concert for me, because there's so much versatility there and so much vocal talent that I feel like it'll sound like a completely different song live than it is when I'm listening to the studio album. So I'm excited. I can't wait. It's an exciting time for me and my life. My little cousins are coming this weekend. I got to pick my grandfather up today, but it should be a really fun weekend.
I'm sure Bruno is much better in person. That's how I felt about Luke Combs and any of the other guys that I saw.
Yeah. Well, like Morgan Wallen is way better in person than he is live, I've noticed. Who else have I seen?
I saw Riley Green 2 weeks ago.
I heard he was good.
I thought he was. Yeah, I thought he was great.
I heard that was a good show.
Yeah, that's how I feel about most artists, though. They're better in person.
I've seen Luke Combs live, not in concert, but I saw him at CMA Fest or something.
Yeah.
He's really good.
Yeah,
really good stuff. Well, that'll do it for us here today on the program. For Parker Kelly, for myself, I want to thank Stars for having us out here today at the Hart Golf Classic, a really good event, a really good cause, and a really beautiful day to do it. So my thanks to them for having us out here. But for Parker Kelly, for Connor Newt, we're saying goodbye. We'll see you tomorrow. Chasing Big Joe coming up next. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to 102.5 The Game.